In the 3 years I've been here, this has been the most requested class. How do I deal with the younger generation? As a supervisor, how do I communicate with them? How do I lead them? How do I direct them? How do I motivate them? And as personnel director, when I go and mediate between a supervisor and employee, what I'm seeing, and even those here recently, is we've got an older supervisor that is a baby boomer, been here 20, 25 years, and that's fine, having issues with a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old. It's this. The supervisor says, all he does is question. All he does is question why are we doing it this way. I can't motivate him. I cannot communicate with him. You know, he does pretty good work, but you know, I just can't get on the same page with him. Does that sound familiar? All right. The other issue I've heard here recently, and this one makes my skin crawl, is I had a supervisor tell me, well, I'm not going to hire anybody in the younger generation because they don't want to work. They got a bad work ethic. I can't motivate them. Heck, I can't even talk to them. I don't even want the ones I got now. Now, as a personnel director, that's like fingernails on the chalkboard. We cannot make employment decisions based on age, right? Everybody knows that, except for very specific situations. But we've got a problem. Now, if you don't know what keeps a personnel director up at night, two things. One, does anyone here know the average age employee of Madison County? What's our average age employee? Somebody guess.
55.
35.
27.
What do you think? 41, somewhere in the middle. 41. So we're an old workforce, and I'm part of that. I'm 43 and a half. Okay? Does anyone know, and I'll buy you a Coke if you know this. Does anyone know how many employees in Madison County are eligible to retire in 5 years? What's that number? Come on. What do you guys do?
60%.
Well, we only have over 300.
Wow.
So that's way over 10. That's way over 10%. Now let me go a little deeper. 4 years ago, we had 200 active retirees. Today we have over 400. And what I just told you is we're about to double that number again in 5 years, or can. Now that's what keeps me up, because we're an older workforce. We're going to have to learn how to communicate, because we can't not hire younger folks. Okay, we just can't. But we got to learn how to communicate, and that's why we're here. You're going to hear more about succession planning coming soon. I'm working on that right now. Because what scares me is we have folks that have been here a long time and have a lot of knowledge. They're going to walk out the door with it and not pass it on. So I don't want you to be offended if I come to you and say, well, what is your succession plan? Who are you going to pass this knowledge on so that when you get ready to retire, who can step into your desk and we don't miss a beat? We've not done that enough in Madison County. We've not done this enough in Madison County. And we're going to continue to do more. My job is to give you the tools to do your job and to help you do your job. So today what I'm going to ask you to do is kind of open your mind. Okay? And put yourself in these situations where, yeah, I've not always communicated the best with my younger employees. Here's something I can do. You've got to find a way to communicate. You're not always wrong. They're not always wrong. Okay? Now, what I have found is that it never hurts to hear someone's opinion. And yes, the way that you tell them to do it might have been the way it's always been done. But maybe there's a better way now. You open yourself up to that. Maybe there is. You know, it never hurts to hear someone out. Because when you got this, the supervisor doesn't want to hear it. The employee feels isolated and left out. The employee goes to PAL, supervisor calls here. That's really what it is. So we got to figure out a way to get here. I am very happy to have Vivian Carter here. She's with Behavioral Health Systems. That name should sound familiar. They are our provider for our Employee Assistance Program, which is a great program, by the way. We've done some trainings on that. We've seen it make a difference in some of our employees' lives. Change some things that need to be changed. She's going to talk a little about that. But guys, I want to be in business with people who are going to help us move forward. So not only are they our provider for EAP, they will come and do trainings like this. Those certificates, those handouts you have, I didn't print those. They provided those, okay? So those are the kind of people that I want to be in business with. So Ms. Carter's going to take us through this presentation, and if you have any questions, we can answer those at the end. Okay?
All right, thank you. Yeah, we do have a lot of material to cover, but I want to get to the end part, which is the fun thing. We're going to put up some scenarios and allow you guys to pick them apart and how you would deal with them. As Jamie said, I'm Vivian Carter. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My practice is from Birmingham. I've been licensed for over 29 years. I'm native Californian, so that's my accent. I've been in Birmingham 11 years. First job I worked with, first company I worked with when I walked. Characteristics for each generation. Try to learn some different strategies for working with a workplace that has people that are 19 and people that are 60-something or more. Also, look at the challenges of that and kind of discuss strategies. And then I'll go over your benefits with you pretty quickly because I think you guys are all managers. You're probably pretty familiar with the EAP benefits. First thing we're going to start out is with a disclaimer. Please, 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 please. I'm going to throw some things out. I'm going to say some things, but you know what? We don't fit in boxes. These are just those kind of way of maybe if you're having a challenge with someone, being able to look at that person and see what's different. I'm a baby boomer, and after doing this workshop, I've been doing it. First time I did it was maybe 2 years ago, and then I've done it a lot this year. I realized that as a baby boomer, I am judgmental. I am stuck in my ways, and I think that there's a way to do it, and I can be accused of saying that the younger generation does not have good work ethic. And I had to change that. They do things differently. They just do things differently. In some ways, I probably relate more to the way they do things, being that I work for myself, than is if other people that are my age that have worked at the same job for a while. So one of the things I want you to do is kind of throw out some of the labels that we have, like poor work ethic, don't know how to communicate, challenge, how'd they ever get a job, all that stuff, because most of you might have retirement, but I'm going to be on Social Security, so I need these people to work. I need them to succeed. Their success and my success are linked. So I was glad to hear Jamie also say about replacing yourself. I think replacing yourself is your job. I think that I have people that I mentor all the time in the profession, just in terms of, hey, these are some good decisions, here's some companies you might want to look out to, because I want somebody else to be able to do what I'm doing, and I can pass that mantle on. And he said, it's part of your job to replace yourself. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody that you picked out that has certain skills that you sort of mentored, so when you went on vacation, the place didn't fall apart? That there's benefits to that. So when you look at the workforce and you look at the different ages, that, as I said before, we're all a wide variety of ages, and you're finding more, especially in my profession, it's not unusual to see somebody 80 still counseling. It's just not unusual to find counselors that are that age, and some of that has to do with economics. Maybe they got in their career late, maybe they want to go home and be with their family. Whatever it is, people are working, getting in the workforce earlier, and they're staying longer. We talk a lot about ethnic and gender and religious diversity, but also being familiar with the cultures of each generation is something that you as managers need to be. What is a generation and how does it impact the workplace? The silent generation. Now I figured the silent generation, bless their heart, is between 97 and 77 years old. maybe not a lot of them in there in Madison County, or maybe they're more, in political positions or something along that lines. But they're considered the silent generation in that they're more traditional. They're very, very traditional. When you look at the things that occurred in that generation, it really was a lot, from flying across the ocean to the stock market crash and depression, the Depression, and World War World War II, which changed a lot of this country and really made us more involved in world politics. This particular generation, they're more in tune to compliance. There is a way to do something. They do believe in hard work. They do believe in dedication and sacrifice. They're the ones that stay at a job for 50 years. They have that opportunity. We don't always have that opportunity. Duty before pleasure. And their particular generation was a generation where seniority meant everything. That's different now. The fact that you've been in a job 13 years does not mean that you will necessarily get that next promotion. Somebody who walks in the door or just has 2 years experience may get it. But this generation, things were very concrete and they were done in a certain way. And they like to be directed. Don't, hey, here's a problem, tell me what you think, figure it out. It's like, no, you're my supervisor. Tell me what you want done and I will do it. Definitely different way of thinking as we move on. Baby boomers. There's a proud baby boomer in here. Those of us who are between the ages of, you don't have to tell your age, but I love my age, so 71 and 53. Raise it, there you go. There, whoa, quite a few of you. All right, that's great. Our generation, to me, when I look at these things and I said, okay, I can read them off or I can kind of come up in my mind about the generation. And basically our generation was, and I'm going to be moving this way, our generation was the turn everything upside down and redo it in a different way generation. Look at civil rights movement and look at the assassinations of our leaders, the Vietnam War. Our generation kind of remembers a number of things, and things were starting to be televised. It wasn't that you read it in the newspaper and you heard about it. You actually saw the Vietnam War in real time to some degree. Not real time like the next generation saw it, but we did see a lot of things. I had to feel badly about some of the things they said about us baby boomers. Good thing is we are optimistic. We're team-oriented. We're all about the team. We believe in getting involved and being involved. We're service-oriented, but we're also uncomfortable with conflict. I, as a therapist, am uncomfortable with conflict. Now, I'm great with conflict when you get me in a counseling situation. That's what I do, bring it on, I love it. But when it comes to my personal life, or if I'm if I'm working as an employee, my discomfort is I want to hurry up and resolve it. Too much chatting about it and all that kind of stuff. Hey, just tell us what you want us to do, and let's move on. We don't need to meet to go over this. And at times we can be judgmental. Again, I remember the last job company that I worked with. There was a younger person in there, 20s or something like that. She just loved to meet to me. She loved to just challenge things. She loved to just talk about, why can't we do this? Why can't I will not repeat the things that went off in my head about this young lady. They were good, but she really didn't have good work. Generation X. Now this is when I start to get confused when we do the X, Y, Z's and the millennials. But there really are differences in them. And if you want to ask a question, I know Jamie said ask afterwards, but if you have a quick question, you want me to clarify something, I'd be glad to. But I am trying to save as much time for the end. This particular generation, they are 52, at between 52 and 38. The world became smaller with this generation. And when I say smaller, we know what's going on in France. You know, we know the introduction of computers has completely revolutionized our world. We know what's going on with other companies. We're dependent on other companies for various things. Women's liberation, computers, Tandy, I haven't seen that for a long time. The hostage situation. John Lennon shot, okay. Reagan inaugurated. MTV, I mean, not only are we familiar with what's going on in the world, we now have the beginning of things that 10 years earlier you never would have seen on television or in your home. They're there. We had to deal with, this generation had to deal with AIDS and the Challenger disaster. Now, some of the values of this particular generation is diversity. They're used to diversity. You know, a lot of things that maybe baby boomers went through with desegregation and things like that, this generation didn't have to deal with this. A lot of this was already in place. So they're used to diversity. They're used to thinking about more than the US of A. They're used to thinking globally. Technology is their friend. You know, they're definitely not as good as the younger people that are below them. But, you know, they're used to using a computer for different things. Very self-reliant, and when somebody is self-reliant, they're not necessarily team-oriented. It doesn't mean that they don't believe in the team, but it's more like, give me my assignment, my part, let me go work at home, I'll get it done. And they're fine with that. This generation is just a job, and don't cringe on that, but you're also looking at the 52 to 38, that time when you had one job your whole life, worked for one company your whole life, it's gone by here. But anybody in here only worked in their working career for Madison County? Okay. All right. I mean, this is, you worked other places. So, and the just a job mentality is that, you know, there's other things that are important in my life, and I don't anticipate that I'm going to stay in this location, you know, forever or until I retire. They like flexible work environments, and they like flexible hours. I can't quite understand, well, why is it that, you know, we have a project that's due, why can't I work on it on Saturday and leave early on Monday so I can go to my kid's ball game? You know, my job is to get the project done. Why does it matter that I want to do it at 3 o'clock in the morning? They value that flexibility. Okay, now we're going to get to my favorite, Generation Y, or the millennials. I think we hear more about the millennials than a lot of the other generations. And some of these things you'll notice that there is definitely a crossover. You'll see some of the same things written down, and they also have some of the same characteristics at this point. 37 to 22 years old, probably a good percentage of this group are within that. You're looking at, I think, the significant things on here, meaning in terms of cultural impact, is the Middle East conflict in the 90s and how that really impacted us. That was one of those situations that's still going on. And you know, people, I have a nephew that's definitely in this group that was raw, wanted to be in the military his whole life, and was 91, 92 involved in that, and there definitely was a change in him and his personality. And that's when we see a lot of emotional things that are dealt with differently. Reality TV has a big impact on us. Some people like it, some people don't. I won't say my opinion on it, but it's there. We see everything in real time in your living room. Not a lot of boundaries between what's personal and not. O.J. Simpson trial, real life, real time, and everything that went with that. The Columbine shooting, once upon a time, you didn't send your kid to school in fear that they wouldn't come back. This is nothing that I thought. I went to school, and of course I was going to come back. Schools didn't have metal detectors and things like that. You just went to school. So that's a change in the mindset. And of course, 9/11, that changed all of our mindset. But this group, the millennials, this crew, they grew up with this. They grew up with this part of their foundation and the way they view the world. And consequently, yes, they're optimistic. They're social. They're street smart. Definitely get that issue with diversity. Believe in tenacity. They're multitasking. This is the first time we use this word. I call it a little ADHD myself, but they can multitask. They can do several things at once. Definitely get technology, but there's a little bit of impatience in there because they have difficulty dealing with people that they perceive as difficult. They have difficulty dealing with certain types of people and haven't necessarily had to learn the skill to do that. Sorry, folks, these are baby boomer kids. It's always interesting to me to see what each generation, the characteristics of their children. Generation Z, 21, about 21 years old, this generation. Y2K. Remember how we were all up in the air about, oh my goodness, the banks are going to close down, it's going to happen to the world. Well, it didn't happen. Facebook. These are things that I consider. The other things are significant, but I think that, Facebook, where my best friend is in Australia. We talk about our Facebook friends like we really, really, really know them. But being connected with people and being constantly getting feedback and giving feedback, different from some of the older generations where we kind of kept things personal or didn't always talk about everything. But this is like, I'm going to Starbucks, now I'm going to Hobby Lobby, now I'm at work, now, constant check-ins and, LOLs and things where people are constantly letting other people into their life and telling them what they're doing. Looking at, they have all those things, the Great Recession, which is the reason why some of us that might have wanted to retire are still going to be in the workplace a little bit longer. So that began. Same-sex marriages. We have Barack Obama elected, which is historic for a number of people. They did a change for a number of people. And Supreme Court ruling on same-sex marriages, and then also we're in the Donald Trump era, which is definitely a difference. Things are different. People that come out of this generation, these are the things that kind of formulate how they think about the world, how they think about work, how they view a lot of things. What I find about this generation, because I have a lot of great nieces and nephews that are in this generation, as much as they kind of get on my nerves, they really are very politically active. They say things, they remind me more of the 60s people that are more challenging and want to know why this and why that. And it can be frustrating dealing with them on one hand, but on the other hand, I kind of admire that because I'm tired. A lot of times, the older you get, you don't want to ask why. So, hey, you ask why. Go on out there and do that. Here's a problem. Figure it out. And if you can come up with a new way to do it, I support you. That has been my way of addressing the generations that, I don't have a clock in front of me, so I'm going to look at this, the generations that are younger than me. Did I go back? I did. Did I go wrong direction? No. Okay, there's another generation. There is Generation Z. Yeah, there's Generation Z. think I may have done something wrong. Did I go over this one before now, or didn't?
That's where we just went over.
Okay, that's where it was, okay. Global thinkers, instant gratification. They want to work for a cause. You know, they're like, well, why are we doing this? We should be doing more for the environment. They want to work for a cause. They want to work for more than just money. Why not me? Why can't I be involved? They crave collaboration. They want to meet. They want to brainstorm. Definitely want those flexible hours, and they like feedback. They're going to be in your office a lot, like, how am I doing? Give me, because they like that instantaneous getting information from you about how they're doing. That actually inspires them. And they like this word transparency that comes up a lot. Transparency, give me a definition. Somebody give me their definition of what transparency is at work. Wow, that means you guys don't have a lot of it.
Openness.
Openness, okay. That's good. Being open. Anybody else?
Knowing where you stand with other people.
I know where you stand. I did this for the state, and one person said, and I just love his definition, included that, but he just says, you know, it's important, and he's in this generation, you want to feel like you know what's going on. They're not comfortable with all the managers meeting to talk about something and then scattering when they come out. They want to know what's going on. They don't need to know everything, but especially when you're dealing with economics and things, they want to have a general idea and be included in the loop, even if you can only tell them, well, we're looking at making some changes in scheduling and how we're doing this, but we're not sure. I'll get back to you when I know something. Want to know what's going on. It's not because they're nosy, they just want to be in the loop. My generation, hey, they'll tell me if I need to know. Little joke. Okay, so how do we proactively deal with this particular dilemma of having people that are from different generations working together? Well, one thing we want to do is look at it not as a negative, but actually a benefit. You want to educate people like you're doing now on the differences, and instead of looking at it as a negative or considering certain traits about people as inferior, you look at the asset. You try and think of, okay, you know, this is something that I'm not familiar with it, but how can this be an asset for our group? And you want to look at the person's productivity. Yes, they may challenge you. Yes, they want to know what's going on. Yes, they drive you a little bit crazy, popping in all the time saying, how am I doing? How am I doing? Is this okay? Is this fine? Can I work from home today? But overall, are they productive? Are they getting their job done? You want to improve competitiveness. You know, it does. When you're dealing with different generations, it does make you more competitive. I tell you, when I'm working with other counselors and therapists that are younger than I, they have so much energy. Oh my gosh, they have so much energy. And they're like, Miss Vivian, do you know this? And what about this theory? And what about that theory? And I'm looking at them and going, huh? What are you talking about? But the competitiveness, what it does for me, I get on the internet and research it. I really do. Or if I'm being particularly open, I'll say, I don't know nothing about that. Tell me. You know, tell me, what is that good for? So depending on how you respond as a person, so different generations keep you going. And I find when I work with younger people, they're all ears on hearing, well, how did you get with this insurance company? And how did you get to do that? And they're just, you know, they just think that this 30-year, 35-year walk that I've been through, they want to hear all about it. It's amazing. They look at me like, wow, you're where I want to be. And I'm going, okay, I'm just doing what I do. But again, it puts, when you're mixing generations, everybody gets something out of it. It's more effective when you recruit. You want to have a recruiting message that actually reaches out to different generations, that makes it comfortable for someone that you're not looking for all 40-something-year-olds. You know, that a 50-year-old might have some value in a position, or a 19-year-old, or a 22-year-old. So when you're multicultural and you're able to deal with these things, multi-generational, excuse me, you want to attract talent that's all across the generations. And I think Jeremy made a good point in saying that if you don't do that, you're not going to have a workforce. It improves morale when you have different types of people, and you actually have better retention. If you're able to respect the differences in various generations, you're going to have people that want to stay around longer. There's nothing worse than feeling alienated, like they just feel like I'm too old, or nobody listens to me. If you pay attention to the differences in generations and you make adaptations to fit them, you're going to get people that actually like, this is a great place to be. I'm learning personally, and I'm accepted, and I'm respected. Communication. Just heard little birdie told me that we have some communication issues that sometimes come up in challenges. Well, when you look at traditionalists and baby boomers, we don't want to question something. We don't, and we really don't like to necessarily be questioned. So status quo is status quo. It's been done that way, and it seems to be successful. And we have more than enough on our plate. We don't need to think of any new ways. So we're not going to necessarily question authority, and we're going to go if something's working, we're going to kind of leave it alone. And what that causes is resentment between the generations, because you're dealing with the X, Y, Z's, and the millennials who are taught to question. We're saying, don't question. They're saying, why not? What's going on? And it creates tension. It creates tension. What you need to do is learn how to collaborate and mediate how that particular situation may work. Millennials and Zs have different life experiences, and they communicate differently. Sometimes they don't listen. Really, they don't listen. They're like 13 steps ahead, and they missed what you said, and that's something that they can get by listening to someone who's a little older, who's been doing it a little longer. That, you know, we're not saying that you're not wise and you're smart, not smart, but we are saying that maybe you guys have been around, some of you have been around a little bit longer, you have a little bit more life experience. You have more experience working with, you know, county politics that they don't. So whereas we should maybe can learn how to question more, they can learn how to listen more. Anybody guilty of that first thing up there? If you're a baby boomer, and I know there's a lot of us in here that we think that they lack discipline and or focus. And then your Generation X's, they see baby boomers as dogmatic and resistant. And we have millennials who see Generation X as having poor problem-solving skills and being slow to respond. And they, of course, see us as resistant and don't want to change. Of course, we don't always say this, but you're nonverbal. You act it out in the way that you respond to things. When somebody puts an assignment on someone's desk and you get this grimace, or you get this eye rolling, or you act things out. You may not definitely challenge it, but you may just not get to it, or you may do it in a way that you think it needs to be done without discussing it with the This is something interesting that they all generations felt, which I thought was pretty cool, and it's a meeting place. The two generations that 1 in 4 respondents said that they tried not to have conflict with their colleagues, but the two that had the most difficulty were the boomers and the millennials. They felt dismissed. They talk a lot about people being lacking discipline and focus. They felt like they lacked respect, and they're more resistant to change. So this particular group, age group, had the most difficulty working together. And going back to that, those are the 30-something people, and us 50-something people. We don't work well together, and there are a lot of us in the workforce today. In general, what this particular study came up was that what we need to learn how to do more than anything is communicate with one another. But the issue isn't so much that we don't believe similar things, but we don't know how to talk to one another about the things that we believe or the problems that we'd like to solve. And I'm going to stop reading this, and I'll just give you a chance to really read over this in terms of communication. No news is good news. Boomers feedback once a year. Xers want feedback all the time. So do millennials. And Generation X's, you can send them a text message. They're fine. They don't really, Generation Z, they don't really care. If you want to make changes in the way you're working with people, remember that you're traditionalists. They don't like to be called out. They don't like a lot of attention. Baby boomers are more likely to give feedback, but we don't get it, which is interesting. We usually, rarely will someone come up and say, hey, I saw you do that. That was really great. For some reason, maybe because been in our jobs longer or managerial positions, people don't necessarily think that we need to get feedback as well. Your Xers need positive feedback. They need to know that they're doing well because that keeps them in line. That keeps them on track. Millennials are kind of used to praise. Again, those are boomer kids. They're kids. And if you don't praise them, they think you disapprove of them. To me, my thought, if you don't praise me, I'm okay. For them, if you're not telling them, you did a good job, great, hey, I see you, way to go, giving them some sort of constant feedback, they think they're doing something wrong.
They need to get a participation trophy.
Well, now see. That's a judgment. This is a generation that did get participation trophies, but part of that in giving them that feedback, it eases their anxiety. It eases their anxiety and allows them to, work more. So you can, either look at it like, oh man, you're insecure, or you can say, okay, how do I get this person going and working on a project? You give them a project and you go in there every couple of days and you go, wow, look at what you're doing. That's great. That's great. Keep it moving. And that's enough for them. They need that constant fuel. And your Generation Zs is back to they want transparency. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what's our direction. How are we moving? How does this impact me? How does this impact the company? Kind of quickly, the strategies for motivating are, you want to keep two concepts in mind when you're dealing with the different generations. Make sure that you actually honor the uniqueness. Try not to focus on the differences as problems. look at them, notice the words I'm using. They are unique. They are special. They are not problems or maladapted or anything. You want to honor the fact that there are differences in the generation, and that can be a positive if you manage it well. And always, always focus on what's similar. What's similar is that everybody comes to work every day. They want to do the best that they can. They want to feel respected at their job. They want to have cordial relationships. There's certain things that's across the board that every generation wants. And when you're doing meetings, you want to focus on, number one, honoring what's unique with each person, but also focus on the common goal and get that teamwork being fostered. You want to communicate for that direction. If somebody needs information, give them information. If millennials need feedback, give them feedback. A tip we have here is establish a confidential process for improvement, like having a suggestion box. You know, those old suggestion box, and if there's and look at it. Look at the suggestions, and there's actually something in there that is a good suggestion, something that you can implement. You want to put it on a bulletin board. Great suggestion. We're going to look at this or something. Give that person some kudos. You want to create programs, and I think this is the one that I love the best out of this. That make people. They actually really encourage and they make people work together. And in working together, one of this terms of silo. Traditionalists and boomers are accustomed to silo knowledge sharing, meaning they keep information. You know that it comes from the kind of top down, and you lose a little bit. They keep it. So, whereas the newer generations, they want it shared. Information is to be shared. It's to be, what you know, pass on to me. Where our other generations are like, knowledge is power. So once a month, just have a brainstorming meeting, or once a quarter, where you're sharing information and you're talking about what's going on, and you're looking at different things that you can do and better ways to work. And, tell people leave their stuff. Leave all that stuff, all the things that distract you, like your smartphone and all that, and your notepad that, you're sitting there working on a spreadsheet at the same time you're pretending to be in a meeting, to leave that stuff alone, and also just check your years of seniority at the door. So you can have a meeting where people are actually in there and everybody is pretty much the same and they're working together. Another example of what you can do is to, instead of having, generations tend to stick together, and we think it's because they have more in common, but why not do things where you team people together and across generations? You may walk in the door and find that, as an employee, that I've been teamed with Teeny Bopper Jean, and my first response is going to be, oh, man. But I know I have to work with her, and I'll make the best of the situation, and I probably will learn something. So if you're in situations where you have to kind of cross-pollinate, so to speak, you learn more and you get more out of your workforce. And they also have this idea of what they call reverse mentorship, which means a younger person mentors a person. I mean, they can all mentor me on computers and how to do things and spreadsheets and who knows whatever. But you have the younger person mentor somebody as opposed to an older person being the mentor. These are some more tips that you can use. And they're basically about teaching generational competence, which this is trying to do today, and use the information. mentoring and coaching and various things are here too. These are just, again, some ideas that you can do. We're back to valuing differences. And again, recognizing that nobody has all the answers. Even you as a manager don't have all the answers. If you're conflicting with someone consistently, as a manager, it's your obligation to first look at your behavior and how you're handling it and how you're approaching it. It's easier to look at the other person, but your really obligation is to say, okay, we have this employee, unless there's all kinds of other things that are going wrong, how can I work with this person and reach them? Yay, okay. I don't think we're going to be out of here exactly at 11, but close. Okay. These are some case studies, and these are things that, for you guys to give your feedback. One of your co-workers is 20 years your junior. She's bright, well-trained professional who entered your department 6 months ago. Well, she can be warm and friendly. She also has a take no prisoners attitude when addressing certain issues. This has produced considerable friction within the department. And when you're approached about her being more diplomatic in a particular when you've approached her about being more diplomatic in a particular situation, her response has been, these people are in the wrong. Why is there a need for diplomacy? What do you think you could do to kind of bridge the gap between this individual and your department? I know your first response is like, hey, but let's go past your first emotional response to this. But what are some of the things that you think you can do to this with this Generation Xer? And she's bright, so you don't want to lose her. But what are some things that some communication skills, or how would you approach her? She's told you're reaching out to her and you're telling her, let's work on some diplomacy so people can hear what you have to say. And she's saying, why? Why do I have a need to change? You can give me your gut level reaction first if you want to.
Educate her that her perspective is not the only one that's important.
Okay. So that is challenging her and saying that her perspective is not the only one that's important. Okay.
Let her have her say, listen to her. You kind of provide the context for why the other people feel the way they do. And she may not know the history or context of why this is going to be.
Okay, if there's a historic, so you're encouraging her to think about a team, from a team approach, and you're saying, hey, let me provide you some information. These aren't just people that are stuck in their ways. There's some history to this. I like both of those. Anybody else have any ideas? Yes, ma'am.
I was told you have to be more tolerant of different personalities, and there are always going to be other people that see things differently. You have to kind of step back and realize that personalities are different.
That's right. I love that word tolerant. I didn't say tolerate. Tolerant, actually realizing that you're not the only one taking up space here. And I think a big principle or something about with this person is, do you want to be heard? A lot of times we want people to listen to us. And if you want someone to listen to you, you have to speak to them in a way that they actually hear what you have to say. Many people, and that kind of appeals to that ego. Well, I have these great ideas and no one listens to me. Well, let's work on the delivery of those ideas. How can I help you? But all of those are great. I like that. Anybody have anything else that they can think of in terms of communicating? Yes?
Utilize their need for positive feedback. When you see them in a difficult situation like that, they're getting opposing views and they're clashing, bring them back to a point where they were doing well with the argument and utilize that positive feedback to promote that
like that. That's definitely from earlier stuff, because this generation needs positive feedback. And going back to that point where they were actually getting it and see what went sideways. And that's great. Also, focusing on the fact that she's a bright, well-trained professional and all those sort of things, but that's good. I like that. Okay.
Also, Ron actually, but people don't realize that homes is important. We're gonna wake up one day and our family routine, other than one home communicator. And around and get that girl is right. So that's an issue that we see too. Is folks just think, oh, I'm always right, and I'm so wrong. And we need someone on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider a different method of communication as well. If this person has some really good ideas, maybe they should write them down and send them in an email, which takes some personal conflict out of the face-to-face, or maybe they email not very well, they can just speak face-to-face in a group meeting.
Okay. Okay, so figuring out the best way for it to be received, because somebody can be abrasive when they're talking to you directly. There's something about their tone, their body language or something, their professionalism, whatever that puts off-putting. But if they did it in an email, that message would get across better. I like that. Or if they can't write an email, to do it in a larger group. Good idea. Okay, your director is by-the-book supervisor, 20 years your senior. Okay, 20 years your juniors, 20 years your senior. They're a boomer. Punching the clock and following strict doctrine appears to be consistently more important than getting the job done. While she occasionally eases her grip, she is sure to catch her stuff within a week and clamp down on any decisions being made without first consulting the rules. You don't understand her focus on the wrong things. Her lack of flexibility has proven counterproductive more than once. What communication skills can be utilized so that the employee and the director can continue to have a productive relationship? Okay. Yeah, let's look at you. You're the person that's dealing with the supervisor. What kind of communication skills do you think could be used?
Just move forward, let loose and drag, and catch up, get the job done.
Excuse me? Move forward.
Move forward, get the job done, let loose and drag, that supervisor will catch up. Don't let the supervisor lose the time, go get the job done, worry about the other stuff later.
Okay. What y'all think about that? No, I mean, it's one way of doing it, that you're letting them know, hey, just keep it moving, keep doing what you're supposed to, and maybe later the supervisor will kind of catch up and look at what they're doing is kind of fruitless. What's the likelihood that that's going to happen, knowledge supervisor? For us baby boomers, if we're stuck in a rigid sort of way of by the books and doing things, what's the likelihood that we're going to ever get people retired from?
If anything, they should find a medium.
What do you say?
If anything, they should find a medium.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, there's a lot of things in this that are a lot of judgments. That's the one thing that I noticed. If I'm as, let's say the supervisor is you're meeting with them, there's just a lot of judgments about rules, and she's not flexible, and she's by the book, and she focuses on the wrong thing, and things like that. There's just really a lot of judgments about this baby boomer supervisor. So if you're the person maybe speaking to them, again, back to giving some history, helping them maybe look at the person in a different way, talking to them about how they approached that person, how they can better ask for what they need. That might help as well. Anything else you can think of?
I just ask them, where is the law? Show me the law.
Where's the what?
The law, the rule.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a code, if it's a tradition or is it the law?
So you would kind of challenge the supervisor.
Guys like, is this real Bible or is it just tradition?
Okay.
Well, we've done it so long, we know there's a verse in there for it somewhere.
That's my rules, the way I want it to be done.
Well, again, maybe there's a different way we could look at it. Ask them the question, have you ever thought of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and there's that hierarchy as an employee. Now, if you're the supervisor, it's easier to do that than if you were the actual employee coming to it. But for those of you who are supervisors, when someone comes to you with this, or you feel that they're kind of disgruntled, and you've asked them to do something, and you've mentioned the rules and whatever, and you find that you've lost them, they have shut down, these are things for you to think about. You know, okay, we were doing fine until I mentioned the rules, and I started talking about certain things, or I started shutting down, they gave me an idea, and I said, no, it can't be done. And now I've noticed there's a distance between me and this employee. For you to be open to go back and say, okay, I noticed that it seems like we're not communicating. Is there something I value you as an employee, you're a good employee? Is there something that I can do differently? Or is there some way that you're perceiving me that I'm not aware of? And be willing to listen to what they have to say. You know, there may be some validity in it. There may be some validity at looking at the rules. So from your perspective as a supervisor, if this is a reaction you get from an employee where they're pulling away from you, you're losing and they're disengaging, taking that time to ask and find out why and being open to hearing without defending yourself. Just hear what they have to say. You know, and say, okay, I'll take that into consideration. These are things I can do, these are things I can't do. There's no right or wrong way to deal with each generation. They're all different. But I think communication is about realizing differences, individual, generational differences, and finding a way, a common goal, and a way that you can connect. There really is no right or wrong way. It's about getting the job done and everybody getting the job done, getting it done effectively, efficiently, and that everybody feels part of the team. If that's your goal, these things are going to come naturally for you. If you find yourself bumping heads and judging somebody, it's time for you to step back and look at how you're dealing with things and maybe reflect on some of this information. But teamwork is about finishing something. It's about coming up with a common cause and the best way to do it. And I think each generation, we all bring something to the plate. You know, I may bring experience. I may know how to talk to people better than you do. You may bring technological ideas. I can be stuck in doing something and you can point out something that I never thought of. Working together is really what you want to do. Is there anybody in here who's not familiar with them? And this may be the end. It shouldn't be. Okay, you have this, so I won't go any further with this, but I will go over your EAP with you really quickly. Anybody here not familiar with their Employee Assistance Program? There it is. Basically, the EAP is a confidential counseling service that each of your employees and their dependents are able to get up to three sessions to work with someone local to address problems that they may have. You can use it as managers. It's a great place to send people that are having personal and emotional problems and also not doing well on the job. You can do this informally. It doesn't have to be a supervisor's referral. I call it a light touch referral. They did this fancy stuff, so I'm going to bring it all up. These are the many things that it really helps with. Some people think 3 sessions is nothing. You can get a lot done in three sessions to get somebody right on the track or to get them to a higher level of care if they need it. Many things you can use it for. I recommend sometimes people use it if they're having problems on the job to discuss communication issues or actually even discuss whether or not they're in the right job. Sometimes the job is not a good fit. You have a login. It's MCA is your code, and this is the information. You can use that login. Your employees can use that login to get I think it's called BHS Assist, and there's like newsletters on various topics, so you can always use that. You have a dedicated care coordinator, and her card's out there that you can call, and she will help you get and help your employees get what you need. You as managers have the ability to talk through a situation. If you're not sure about the referral, of course you talk to your HR person, but you also can call BHS and give a sort of synopsis, and they will give you advice in terms of, yeah, this is something I think that BHS can handle, and we have people in your area that can do it. Definitely you have critical incident debriefing and training and education. I think this is BHS's really strong suit because they handhold a lot of things and they do a lot with managers and supervisors. There's your number. They're open from 7 a.m. to 5:30. After that, you get a live answering service that will get you to a person who is on call and clinical. I got dinged once because I didn't get back to somebody in 20 minutes. So they're pretty good about making sure that the person on call actually gets back. Okay, I'm sorry we ended up going over. Any other questions or any thoughts that you guys have? This generational thing it's kind of different. There's a lot of information that goes with it, but I think the big thing is not to readily judge somebody and just say, oh, this younger generation, that older generation, or whatever, but look at them in the context of how they grew up, what their beliefs are, and you want to look, is this person basically interested in doing a good job and has good skills? And if they do, use whatever it takes to work with them. I'm glad that I was able to come, and I appreciate meeting with you all, and I'm here for a while if you want to ask me a question individually, and I'll give it to Jamie.
Thank you, Vivian. You guys learned something? Good, I hope you did. What I got out of that is each generation, and like I said, I'm an Xer, we all have certain needs, we all grew up a certain way, and everything molds us. But as supervisors, as we all are, we're now responsible for understanding that and understanding where that employee is coming from. And like Vivian said, using what they know to our advantage, not shutting that door because they're 20 years younger than me. What can I learn from them? So I thank Ms. Melissa for coming over and recording this. We'll have this on our website later today. Excuse me, if you have some folks that work for you that didn't get a chance to see it, we will make that available on the website and you can watch it later. What we're really trying to do, guys, is to build a library, a training library. That's really what I want to do, so that's why we're doing all this with the webinars and recording, okay? All right, anything else? All right, guys, thanks for coming. Have a good week.